yourself. I want to greet you. If you're catching this by one of the replays, just say hashtag replay so I can acknowledge that you stopped by. I'm not quite live on Facebook yet, but that's okay. We can get rocking and rolling with my Instagram following, which isn't much, but that's okay. I understand 8 o'clock in the morning is still early for some people, but quite frankly, it's late for me. Let me do a little introduction of myself. I'm Luciana Turner. I am your government contracting compliance officer and strategic specialist. A compliance officer within the government space, let me take my glasses off because it's giving a terrible glare. A compliance officer within the government space is someone that ensures that your company is adhering to all the rules and regulations as governed by FAR, CAS, whatever other industry rules that you may be bound by, rules of the SEC if you're an SEC client, if you're an accounting firm or do accounting work, um, those organizational rules as well. So your contracting terms and such the like. We interface with governmental agencies which are doing reviews of your work. And we also do internal reviews. We're not internal auditors all the time, but we do perform internal reviews to ensure that internally we are practicing and adhering to what we told the government that we do. And we'll cover that in a later class or in a later session, how we report to the government, how we do business. Today's conversation, we're going to do like a wrap up. We're going to kind of do a brief overview of what's going on this week, which is a lot. What we're going to discuss next week is some upcoming contracting events that you may find interesting and want to tag along into. As we know, this week has been, the news has been dominated by the Afghan pullout. I want everybody to keep in mind this is not a political commentary or political post, but the Afghan pullout has dominated the news. And as such, I have a new mic, so please let me know if you're joining, if you can hear me or not. As such, there's a lot of moving parts. So there are going to be, and there are currently taking place, some conversations around how we're going to support um, new, I don't want to use the term refugees, how are we going to support our partners that we are going to be bringing into this country? Well, for small businesses who perform services that are related to social services, placement, job training, um, mental health, and those types of services, look for RFPs to start hitting the streets within the next month or so, dealing with those types of services. Because when they come to this country, some of them are going to need therapy, they're going to need a lot of adjustment, they're going to need a lot of job placement assistance. And that's going to be farmed out to contractors, quite frankly. So look for those RFPs to be hitting the streets. But however, there is some pushback with how we're going to do that, the funding for it, what is going to get defunded, or what is that funding for those programs going to look like. So we're going to keep an eye on that coming forward, going forward. We also know that our president has decided to push a mandate to enforce all government contractors and any company that receives Medicaid funding through contracts, and that is not excluded to hospitals and nursing homes. But if you have a contract that receives funding from Medicaid in any way, shape, or form, your workforce must be vaccinated. I am giving that a 30 to 60-day compliance window. And that's just typically how things work in the government. You have 30 days to lay out a plan, and then 30 days from that to get compliant. And with the new government fiscal year starting October 1st, I'm thinking October 1st is going to be a deadline for, at the bare minimum, having your workforce at least having the first shot of the two shots. So small businesses need to be trying to have those conversations with their HR representatives or advisors, their workforce, their attorneys, their insurance agencies to see how potential injuries are covered. There maybe want to have a conversation with their attorneys if they get pushback from the employees. There's a lot of moving parts for the small business, and I understand the concern around risk in this context because this is something new. I mean, there are people who want to argue it isn't. This mandate is something new to the small business in this era. So handling that and adjusting and dealing with that risk is something new for the small business owner. And I would tell you, have those conversations with your power partner. Make sure you document how you're going to do it, how you're going to move going forward, so that you have a plan in place. Another thing that came out this week, or it's not just this week, this is something that we're going to be seeing over the next few months. There is a huge push with the PPP fraud. I saw on the news last night that a congressman's daughter was just indicted on fraud. She's looking at 20 years because she took out a loan, doesn't have a business, but she had a business with 18 employees. She went as far as to collude with some of her friends to pretend they were her employees so she can get the maximum amount of loans. We're going to see a lot of that coming down the pike. Their IRS has actually set up a hotline so that individuals can report other people who they know have committed fraud in the PPP program. And the PPP program is the Payroll Protection Program. It's rife with fraud. I know of somebody who had a conversation with SBA. They ran some of the zip codes of applicants, and they're coming back to low income housing addresses. Yes, so the IRS has asked for funding in the tune to the tune of $1 trillion, and I'm going to tell you they're going to use that $1 trillion to go after the perpetrators of the fraud. It is what it is. You know, people say they were trying to get through the pandemic, but just some people were just trying to get over. And we're just not going to act like everybody was trying to survive. Some people were trying to get over and thought they wouldn't get caught. And that's a good segue into this conversation that I wanted to have this morning about fraud in government. Every audit step that exists in government contracting is a direct result of a fraud or a discovered fraud. Every audit program, everything. And that is because there are people who are more invested in trying to figure out how to be dishonest than they are in trying to put in a hard day's work. For the most part, people in this arena come in, do the job they're getting paid to do, and they do the work. We are hardworking individuals. I say we because I also do government contracts. But there are the outliners. There are those who build a government for fraudulent hours. There are those who build the government for employees that do not exist. That's a whole audit. And in the next couple of weeks, I'll actually review that. I believe the name of that investigation was Fast and Furious, where there was actually an auditor a government contractor who built the government for 70 employees that did not exist. So a whole audit program was created to verify that the employees that were being billed to the government actually existed. So unfortunately, where there's the opportunity to make money, and government contracting is a lucrative way to grow your business, there's always somebody who is going to try to find a way to get over. And I have heard personally so many of these so-called contracting specialists telling other people how to get over in contracts, not knowing, because quite frankly they're not specialists, not realizing they're telling people how to break the law. And a lot of these things that you're being instructed to do is illegal. It breaks the law. And we're going to go over some of the ways that it does break the law over the next coming week. I'm gonna even do a master class on some of the laws that you should be aware of in the coming weeks as a government contractor. With that said, I want to make you also aware of an upcoming, our president, in an attempt to spur our economy, has put a significant amount of money behind backing minority businesses. September 19th through the 25th is the National Minority Enterprise Development Week. Now, I believe this is going to be held virtually, I believe, but this is an initiative to help small minority business, and minority as defined by the government is any business run by a historically disenfranchised group, i.e., women, African American, Native American, Asian American, etc. You can go to the SBA website; they will lay out who meets that description, and it's an opportunity for you to, meet with government officers. This is not a pitch fest in the way that you're going to go in and walk out with a contract. None of these events are. These events are designed strictly for you to introduce your company, to introduce your company to the small business liaisons officer, to learn how to. I need to tighten that. To learn how to have conversations with government officers, excuse me. I'm an auditor, so I have auditors on my mind. With government officers so that you can learn how to position yourself in government. Please do not go to these events but with the belief you're going to walk out with a contract. You're going to walk out with connections. You're going to walk out with an into the agency. You're going to walk out with potentially someone who's going to be sitting at the table at the time of the proposal review, who will be able to fight on your behalf. That is the purpose of attending these industry events. Far too often, I see small businesses go into these rooms believing they're coming out with an awarded contract, and that just isn't what these event networking meet and greets with the potential to build those relationships. And I want to use that as a segue into this. The government is risk averse. So the government will not do business with an entity it feels will not be around in the next few weeks, does not know how to operate its business, or does not know how to do a proper billing. And while small businesses often bemoan the fact that the small business goals are not met each year, and several conversations around that, small businesses do bear the responsibility to ensure they are building a compliant and informed platform so that when you come in, you are a power partner to the government. You can demonstrate that doing business with your company will not place the government at risk. The government, people can have whatever commentary you want to have about the government and government spending. But there is significant oversight over government spending for the very fact that they are risk averse. And that risk aversion is why you see particular types of contracts being awarded to small businesses. Now, my first contract that I was awarded as a contractor was a training contract. And in my background is actually why I started my company. One of the primary complaints was that small businesses, and as you come into the room, please just let me know that you're here so I can acknowledge you. Say hello, how we were taught. Say hello when you enter the room. Um, one of the things that one of the discussions that was being held was small businesses did not know how to submit a proper bill. Small businesses did not submit a supported bill. Small businesses did not know how to record their hours. It was just a lot of things. So the government ended up spending a lot of time correcting the bill to send back in order to pay the bill. And quite frankly, I remember one contracting officer said they sent a bill back to one business. They actually told the business what to correct. It wasn't even a mystery what was wrong. They said just this and we can pay it. And the business submitted the same invoice back to them wrong 5 times. They actually had to get on the phone with them and actually say this line and change this to this, go to this line and change this to this. And quite frankly, you can't argue you should be awarded $1 million contract when you can't submit a $2,000 invoice. It just, you can't do it. So, whereas I understand the frustration small businesses have in government, small businesses really need to step it up a little bit, invest the proper amount of money and energy in getting educated. I am a trainer. I offer training classes. I offer strategic services within the industry. And somebody may think this is a shameless plug, but I'm going to just put it out there. Freebie Nation will not get you to $1 million contract. It won't. It'll get you started, but it will not get you to where you're trying to go. And with that, I'm going to wrap this up with this. Over the next coming weeks, we're going to see a lot of the budget planning is coming out. The forecast coming out. As I stated on Tuesday, this year